the SQL Server insert statement is used to add one or more rows in the tables. So it can be used in different formats to insert data directly, specified in the statement, just to copy the rows from one table to another, or insert the results of a query into a table. Now, to insert a single row, we can use a simple syntax. So suppose we want to insert a row in our employees table. So we will use the insert into employees, and then we want to insert. Now, if you remember the employee ID, let's actually look at that. If you remember the employee ID in our table, it's actually an identity column, so we don't have to include it. I think I'm just looking for this data. I think it's this one here. And then we look at the tables and then the employee, and then we can look at the keys, rather the employee ID. So yeah, so it has to be an identity column. Now, so we insert into employees, then we need to specify the columns that we want to insert into. So we will say maybe first name, and then last name, and then we also have the manager ID, if you recall that. So those are the columns that we want to insert into, and then we'll specify the values. So we can say the values, and then we'll say maybe we insert Christina, and then maybe the surname Siam, and then maybe the manager ID will be 2. So now this statement, it adds a new employee called Christina Young, who reports to manager with the employee ID 2. Sometimes we want to insert multiple rows. Now to insert multiple rows, let me just insert this one, and then I will just comment out this. So to insert multiple rows, we will say insert into employees, and then again we want to specify the fields that we want to, or the columns that we want to actually insert into, so which is a last name, and then the manager ID, and then we can specify the values. Now the values, we will separate them using the comma, so we can just say George, and then let's say George, the employee manager is 3, and then we separate that with a comma. So now we can use or insert another one, say easy, and say 3. Now this insert 2 new employees. Select all from employees, and then just to see our data that we inserted. Now we will see that we also have easy. So here's the 3 that we just inserted now, and then you will notice here that we did not put the salary. Actually forgot to include the salary as well, so it says null here where it is supposed to be salary, and then also there is no department as well. Okay, so sometimes we want to copy employees to another table. So let's go ahead and create a new table. So I'm going to add a new query here. So let's have a table called, maybe we call it backup, employee backups, employee backup. And then we're going to have the same fields that we have. So we're going to have the employee ID, which is int, and then it's a primary key, but I'm not going to make it an identity column because we're going to copy the existing employees. So we're not going to make it an identity column. Then we have the first name, and then we have the last name, and finally we have the manager ID. We can actually do this. We can reference, can make a manager ID the foreign key that will reference which is a manager ID, and then references employee backup, and then employee ID. If you remember how we created the other table. So basically what's happening here, this statement of ours, missing another closure here. So this statement, it creates the employee backup table with the same columns as the employees. So it also includes a foreign key constraint on a manager ID that references the employee ID within the same backup table. So by doing that, we're maintaining that hierarchical structure for manager-employee relationship. And then, so what we want to do, so after creating this table, so we can populate it with the current data from the employees table. Here's how we can do it. We can say insert into employee backup, and then employee ID, because now if you remember, it's not identity, and then the first name, and then last name, and then the manager ID. I think we forgot the salary there. If you remember, there's a salary which is decimal. So say salary, and then we're gonna have the manager ID, and then we select employee. We select employee ID, employee ID, first name, last name, and then salary, and then manager ID from employees. And then we can actually finally select all from employee backup. Now this insert to, and then insert into employee backup, and then select statement selects all the rows from the employees table, and then it's gonna insert them into the employees backup, um, to effectively create a backup of the current employee data. So now with the employees backup table now containing a copy of employee, we can use it for various purposes, maybe for data recovery in case maybe of a accidental data deletion or corruption in the employees table, or historical data analysis to compare the current data with a snapshot from the time of the backup, or testing purposes for performing operations that shouldn't affect the live employees table data, or we creating and using the backup table like employees backup. Is just straightforward but effective strategy in managing your data, for protecting and managing your data in SQL. So I'm gonna, now you can actually see that we've copied the data from one table to the other. So the insert, as we were looking at the insert, think of an insert statement like setting up a new office space. So the basic insert syntax is like bringing in a new desk, a row, or and placing specific items on its designated spots. All right, so inserting multiple columns, rows at once is the same as setting up, maybe it's like setting up several desks at the same time, each with their items placed in a singular arrangement. So now if we insert from rows from another table, it's like moving items from the old office, you can say table, to a new one, selecting only what you need with the select statements and condition, and then placing them on the new space.